I'm Lance Mitchell, and I will be your moderator for tonight's forum. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Greater Iberia Chamber of Commerce, Iberia Comprehensive Community Health Center, and Leadership Iberia. There are a few announcements before we begin this evening's program. Our sponsors wish to remind you that tonight's program is purely informational. Neither the Chamber, Iberia Comprehensive Community Health Center, nor the Leadership Iberia program endorses any particular candidate running for office. Thanks to the City of New Iberia for allowing us to use the facility and to on tap for use of audio equipment. The last day to register to vote for the October 12th primary election is September 11th. Early voting runs September 28th, 2019 through October 5th, 2019, and election day is October 12th. Also, the Chamber is posting all forums to their YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodnewsiberia, and to the Chamber's Facebook page at Iberia Chamber. At this time, I would like to introduce the candidates. All candidates in this race were invited to participate. Those in attendance tonight are, for District 48, Bo Bolia, Dana Dugas, Ricky Gonsalin, Mr. David Levy. For District 96, Marcus Bryant, Cami Yogi Macharan, Robert H. Bob Titus II. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for an opening statement. We will then ask a series of questions which each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer, unless otherwise noted. Candidates will be given 60 seconds for closing arguments. To assist the candidates in keeping time, we have a timekeeper and timing light situated down front. Candidates, when your time begins, the green light will come on. When you have 15 seconds left, the yellow light will come on. And when your time is up, the red light will come on. At that time, you must finish your sentence. If that takes more than a few seconds, the buzzer will sound to let you know that you must stop. So we'll all know what to expect. Let's try the buzzer. Due to the limits of time and to maintain a fair atmosphere, we ask the audience hold any applause or other comment. And please check to be sure your cell phones are silenced. All the questions I will ask tonight were predetermined. Questions were solicited from the public, and then an unbiased committee reviewed the questions submitted and came up with those that are to be asked tonight. All questions have been kept in strict confidence, and no one except the committee members and myself have seen them. At this time, we will start opening statements. Earlier, we drew for the starting order. We will start with Cami Macharan and continue from left to right. The closing remarks will begin in reverse order of the opening. Cami, please begin your opening statement.
Good evening. I want to first thank everyone who organized this forum, and I also want to thank everybody in attendance. My name is Cami Macharan, and I am a candidate for state representative for District 96. I'm a 95 graduate of New Iberia Senior High and a 2001 graduate of UL. I started my career with the Department of Corrections as a probation officer. In 2006, I obtained my teaching certification, and I've been teaching with the Iberia Parish school system for the last 13 years. I've been an advocate for the kids of this district and this state. I've fought for education reform and criminal justice reform. My advocacy has brought me throughout the state and as far out as Washington, D.C. I've spoken in front of many committees at the legislature, including the education and criminal justice committees. Please consider voting for me, Cami Matran, on October 12th for your next district representative. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert H. Titus. I go by Bob. My claim to fame is I worked a career with Clico, and I worked for the casino in Sharonton for a while, and then I finished up at UL Animal Farm. They call the monkey farm. And then I started my own consulting business. And throughout my life and my career, I've taken part in many civic organizations, as well as trips to the legislature to lobby certain issues. And I feel that I owe something to the district. I want to be your House Representative 96, and that's why I'm here tonight. Thank you.
First of all, wow, it's great to see all of you here this evening in all this weather. Janet, Kelly, the chamber, your board, thank you all for putting this event on. It's kind of refreshing to think about our future when you see so many people gathered here this evening to get involved with the political process. My name is Bo Boye. I grew up on the banks of the bayou that flows right behind this building. My wife Casey and I have been married for 21 years and raised our 4 kids on that same bayou. My business partner and I started a business based on a foundation of trust and respect 18 years ago. And 18 years later, we work with hundreds of businesses and thousands of hardworking people across South Louisiana. It's my goal to earn the same trust and respect of District 48, help plan for the future of Louisiana, bring trust and respect back to Baton Rouge, and serve your best interests. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dana Duga. I'm running for State Representative, District 48. I'm going to Baton Rouge with a simple idea, common sense. I'm going to bring a common sense approach to government. I've been serving on the school board for 7 years. That's what I brought to the school board. I want to continue that in Baton Rouge. My biggest thing with the school board, when people call for help, you try to help them. And that's going to be my goal in Baton Rouge, is to help people. Now, can we help everybody? No, but we can help most of the people, and if nothing else, talk to them and listen to them and try to help them. And that's what I'm going to be bringing to Baton Rouge. Give us some accountability for our tax dollars, but just a common sense, good coffee pot type of politics in Baton Rouge. Again, my name is Dana Duga. I'm running for state representative. Vote for me October 12th. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Ricky Gonsalin. I'm a 5th generation sugarcane farmer here in Iberia Parish, and I call Iberia Parish home. I'm a current parish councilman for Iberia Parish Councilman, serving chairman, vice chairman, and finance chairman respectively. I'm married to my lovely wife, Ronnie Lane Booty Gonsalin, for 29 years. We have 3 children, Riley, Rhett, and Ridge. Riley currently is an employee on RN on Iberia Medical Center, emergency room floor. My son Rhett graduated in business, and he decided to come on the farm, and that's the 6th generation in work, going for the 6th generation. My son Ridge is on his way home, and he's also going to join us on the farm. Very proud of my family to locate back here in Iberia Parish in the community they were raised in. I'm a graduate of 1985, graduate of New Iberia Senior High, got a bachelor's degree from USL, graduate of Leadership Iberia, also a leadership development program from LSU. Currently holding the position of Farm Bureau President for 11 years, State Legislative Chairman for American Sugarcane League as well. I'm in the Knights of Columbus, the Kiwanis. I'm electors at St. Peter's Church. And thank you, and support Ricky Gonsalin October the 12th.
Hi, I'm David Levy. I'm originally from Bunkie, Louisiana, graduated from Bunkie High, went to LSU, got a degree in petroleum engineering in December of 1986. There was nothing to do, so I got another degree in mechanical engineering and went to work for Halliburton in the oil field in this area. Been here since about 1990. In 1996, I started my own business, still have my own business, Petro Technologies, and I design equipment for deep water completions. I want to thank everybody up here for participating and trying to make things better. That's why I'm here. I'm a Democrat. I'm running as a Democrat. I think that, if you think the governor is going to be a Democrat, maybe I can help this district and we can get some stuff done. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marcus Bryant. I'm running for District 96, which comprises of 40% of Iberia, 40% of St. Martin, and 15% of Lafayette. I'm a child of this district. I was here for 17 years. I put on my cards that I'm from Berryville because I was here 17 years and I went to St. Martin for 24, and that's where I've been since coming home from law school. I practice injury law. I'm a voice for the homeless. I'm a voice for kids. I'm a voice for the elderly. I've had programs in place since coming home from law school. I'm in my 14th year cutting kids' hair, providing them with school supplies, blood drives, and elderly programs. I love this district. I'm just a child of the district. I want to go and represent. I have no ulterior motives. I've had a great life. I have a great practice. I have 3 beautiful kids, and I just want to continue to serve this community. Please consider voting for me on October 12th. Thank you.
The first question: what about your education, experience, or other aspects of your background makes you the best qualified candidate to represent your district and Iberia Parish? Starting with Mr. Titus.
Thank you. Well, one of the things we all know, a lot of wisdom comes with age. I might have everybody trumped up here, I'm not sure. I guess the greatest part of that I do have a bachelor's in business management with a minor in business law and communication. Well, along with that and all my work experiences, I think through all those things you learn a lot. Living gives you a lot of experience, and I think in a sense that's the best thing that I can offer. That I have been around. I have spent time in the legislature, around the legislature. I've spent time in a lot of different cities, and I've been fortunate to be in a lot of different situations, and I've learned a lot from that. So to be any more specific than that, I can't. But that is my strongest point. I think that my knowledge will enable me and my experience to make good decisions for this district. Thank you.
Mr. Boyer.
Let's be frank. It's not what I say is the most important thing about me that makes me the most qualified. It's what each and every one of you say is important. So many times we're listening to politicians tell you what they want to hear. It's time we listen to what you all want to hear. Look, if you're happy with the way our elected politicians have fixed our roads, if you're happy with the way our current politicians have fixed our drainage, if you think our current politicians have done everything they can from an economic development standpoint, if you think our current politicians have done everything to maximize our children's education, then I might not be your guy. But if you're looking for someone who roll their sleeves up, who think tough about getting jobs back to our area, bring new ideas to Baton Rouge, then I am your guy. And if having a master's in business administration is important, if building a business from the ground up is important to you, if being involved in the community and getting recognized for civic leadership over the last 20 years is important, well, those just might be a couple of extra things that you can add to the resume. But none of this was done to pad a resume for running for state representative. It's always about giving back to the people of our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm a '79 graduate of Laurel High School. From there, I went to Tertiary Technical College for air conditioning and refrigeration. And then from there, I went to the University of Hard Knocks. I went to work. In high school, I started off as a kitchen help at Mr. Gaddis, and when I left there, I was a store manager. From there, I went to Norris Traders. I started in the warehouse. When I left there, I was top salesman. Worked for a construction company in Rain. We had a great success there, and in 2000, I decided to do it all from my own. 2000, I started Dana Dugas Affordable Homes, and I built that company from ground up. And that's the experience I want to bring to Baton Rouge, is I want to build a new Louisiana. But I want to work for the people. You know, I've worked for all kind of businesses. I worked for myself, but I want to work for the people, and that's what I want to bring to Baton Rouge, the people's voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think when you look at, what qualifications bring you and why you want to go to Baton Rouge, and often people ask, why you really want to serve in Baton Rouge and what are your credentials? Well, I don't think any of us have credentials that could be qualified to stand to good or bad. I think it's what we bring to the table. And in my business, when I graduated from college from UL, I had a golden opportunity to do several things that I could have chosen. I could have went on the road. I chose to stay home and go on the family farm. And to do that, you got to accept the challenges that come with family farming. It's a family business. You got to go to work every day. You got to solve problems. That's what we do. We have to fix problems. We got to get our hands dirty. And you know what? That's what's missing in Baton Rouge. Too many ink pens and not enough guys to get their hands dirty. I'm willing to get my hands dirty, go to Baton Rouge, do the right thing, and and for the taxpayers back. I've served 8 years on the parish council. That's 2,183 votes that I cast for or against issues in this parish that affected each and every one of your lives. Whether it's good or bad, I stood up and made those votes. I took the heat, I took the reprimand, I took the issues on head on and proved that we can fix this problem. Over the 8 years, this government has moved forward. We have a Rouse's, we have a Chick-fil-A, we have a Hobby Lobby working with the city. Things are moving forward. Our sales tax are up. We're doing the right thing in Iberia Parish as elected officials, and I commend my colleagues for doing that. But to me, if you want to serve in Baton Rouge, you got to have a pulse of your community. You got to get in the trenches, make the votes, press the red and the green button, and affect people's lives. Thank you.
Mr. Levy,
Could you repeat the question, please?
what about your education, experience, or other aspects of your background makes you the best qualified candidate to represent your district and Iberia Parish?
Okay, I entered the business world in 1990. I had a great career in the oil field. I enjoyed it tremendously. I was able to design and was able to participate in some wonderful things. In fact, I was on the first completion after Deepwater Horizon. I got to go out and try some new stuff, something that was eventually I got a patent on. So it's been a great ride, but the oil field it's going away. The LNG boom that's going on in Lake Charles and the exporting is really not helping us. And there are some problems. My opinion is that's not going to be sustainable for a variety of reasons. I do believe that Deepwater is going to come back, but it's never going to be like it was before. So what I'm trying to work on are new and different renewables like solar panels, and I'm trying to get some people together and work on a project where we're trying to air condition with solar panels that are off the grid so that we don't have to connect with CLECO and go through all that. But it's very difficult to, there's nobody around that can do that, and there's no push. So what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and get the government to work with us and help us get that done.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant?
Practicing law, I think, has made me qualified, but I think the most important thing that qualifies you to run and be in the legislature is love, kindness, compassion, having the love to protect the elderly's benefits so they have the medical attention they need, medical care they need, to make sure your teachers have the resources to do their jobs, to deal with all the different issues that you have to go to Baton Rouge and fight for, You have to deal with infrastructure and having a love for your city to look beautiful, to look plentiful, for the people in your community to make a wage that's livable, that's comparable with other states and across the country. So I think compassion and love and desire fight is the qualities that you need to be in Baton Rouge and be willing to listen and have a listening ear to what your community is asking you to do and the needs of your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mathurin?
With my teaching background and my probation and parole background, it gives me the opportunity to know what our children need. As this state has failed our young children, our education system is 49th and 50th, depending on what year you look at. Being in the criminal justice system, I've seen the goods and the bads of it. It needs to be revamped. Our education system needs to be revamped. I think I'm qualified because for the past 10 years, I've sat with legislators, I've toured the state, I've talked to them about what we need in our education system, how we're failing the kids, what we can do to stop the education to prison pipeline, how we can stop cuts in health care. For the past 10 years, we've cut, $700 million from both health care and education individually. I want to go and stop those cuts. We need to make cuts where the cuts are needed, and we need to stop giving all kind of money to the different departments for them to use, and they don't use for what they're asking for. So I think my education background, me working with kids on a daily basis, in and out, working with the criminal justice system, that qualifies me to go and help those of District 96, because I will bring your voice to Baton Rouge. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question is, how do you plan to improve the business climate in the state, particularly as it relates to tort reform? Beginning with you, Mr. Bull.
Okay. Thank you. That's an excellent question. And when knocking on doors, tort reform seems to be a question that comes up a lot. I'll give you a quick little story. Last year, probably about this time, I was visiting with a gentleman in Lafayette, having lunch with him. And he happened to be a political liaison for one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. And sitting across the table from me, he looked at me and he said real clearly, he said, our lawyers want us out of the state of Louisiana. They want all of our assets, all of our people out of Louisiana. He said they would prefer to deal with a third world country rather than deal with the politics of Louisiana. And that says a lot. And it says a lot about our litigious society. We have a lot of things that need to be cleaned up on the tort issues. If y'all can find a solution for the billboard lawyers up and down Highway 90, I'm all ears. If it doesn't restrict free speech, let's discuss. But we have a lot of other issues with regards to that. You have the jury threshold limit that needs to be evaluated. They tried to push something through this year, bringing it down from 50,000 to 5,000. That didn't make it. We have some gag orders on asking people whether or not they're wearing seatbelts or not. I'd like to give businesses a voice with their insurance whenever one of the insurance companies wants to go and settle a small claim when you know it's frivolous. I think if you're paying the policies, you ought to be able to have a legal right to object to that. So there's a lot of things on the tort side that we can address. But the whole deal is bringing down insurance costs for small business and for all of y'all.
Thank you. Mr. Dugas?
Right, yeah. You know, the way we're gonna bring the economy back is oil and gas. You know, we need to start welcoming businesses back to Louisiana. You can't go out there and sue the people you want to bring to Louisiana and put people to work. 70 years, oil and gas has ran Louisiana. It's pumped life into Louisiana, no matter what business you're in. But you can't go around suing the people you want to have people go to work for. The insurance rates are way too high because we have too many frivolous lawsuits. You know, our insurance rates are fourth highest in the country. We need less regulations for government. We need to tell people in Louisiana is open for business again. You go around the country, no business wants to reestablish in Louisiana because Louisiana has gotten that attitude of we're not business friendly. And how are you going to fix the economy if you don't put businesses to work that's going to put our people to work? So where's our people working? In West Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, South Dakota. I have a buddy working in South Dakota, 22 degrees below zero. Way too cold for me. But we need to reform our attitude on how we're going to affect business and welcome business back to Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonsolin?
Well, it's a really important question and probably one of the number one question that you get asked on knocking door to door. But what I will say is one thing that you do not want to do for the state of Louisiana for economic is increase taxes. No new taxes. Remember that. No new taxes. You have to go after reducing what we have now. We're the highest tax state in the nation. Second of all, on tort reform, such an important issue with some of the comments that made $50,000 threshold. We need to reduce that. 32 other states have a zero threshold, and all of them are lower on insurance rates, all of them. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. It's successful in other states, let's go and do it. But when we did, I testified for the American Sugarcane League for the State Legislative Committee for tort reform, and we went in front of the judiciary committee. 6 lawyers, 1 business guy. We were outnumbered. That's not going to happen until the upper leaderships change. We're up against a brick wall, but at least we got their attention. So yes, tort reform is the number one issue. But let's look at a couple other things that have to be addressed for economics in the state. Corporate taxes, 8%, way higher than any other state. We got to bring our corporate taxes down. We got to bring our franchise taxes down. We number 5 in the nation in franchise tax. We got to bring that tax level down. There's several things that we got to do to bring businesses to this community. Also, we gotta make sure that we have a stable workforce, a blue-collar workforce for employers to employ. If we do those 4 things, businesses don't have to look over their shoulder and worry about getting sued, pay lower taxes, and we got people we can hire to put to work. That's what businesses need.
Thank you. To remind the rest of the panel of the question, how do you plan to improve the business climate in the state, particularly as it relates to tort reform?
This tort reform business is a red herring. I've been in business for 23 years. I've been in the oil field, and I've never been sued, not once. The auto insurance rates are high. The reason they are high is because there is lack of government oversight. Poor people are charged for not having a job. That's why your auto insurance rates are high, because the pool is too small. So single women are charged higher in auto insurance rates. Poor people are charged higher insurance rates. That's why our insurance rates are so high. It's not because there are billboards on the highway. The billboards have nothing to do with it. So if we have better government oversight over the insurance industry, then we will have a larger pool and we will reduce the auto insurance rates across the board. That's the problem. What you're being sold is something that it's just not true. The pool is too small. What we need to do is we need to expand the pool, and we need to stop charging poor people more money for being poor. Not because they get in accidents, but because they don't have a job. Now they can't get to the job.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Mr. Bryant?
As an injury lawyer, I get to sit on panels, and as of recently, the latest panel we sat on believed that lawyers need to begin to govern themselves. I think people do have this billboard fatigue, and it's about 6 attorneys that probably run and have the most billboards all throughout the state, and that's just a problem. It's a problem that the lawyers need to get together on the right side and on the left side and put together some kind of legislation that governs themselves with the billboards, right, without an impingement on free speech. So I never advertise. I've been in practice 13 years. I have never had a day where I have not gotten a new client. I've had a very successful practice, and I have really never even had a business card. So my cell phone, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and busting my butt and going to work and doing the best I can for each one of my clients have proven to be a success. So when I go to the panel, is if we don't govern ourselves, they're going to create some legislation that's not going to be able to overcome impingement on the First Amendment. So it's going to be very hard to put some legislation of not in debt. Is it debt? The advertisement companies, they employ maybe 10, 15 to 20,000 people. That's the people that's going up the billboards and putting up billboards, the people that have to take them down, the printing press, the printing shops, our local printing shops. That stuff is an economic increase and an economic boon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Ms. Montreal?
In order for businesses to come back to this state, our education system has to get better. Businesses and people are leaving our state because our education system is 50th or 49th. When our education system turns around, so are our businesses. We need to bring businesses back, but in order to do that, we have to work with some of them that are here to get legislation passed to where we can bring people and encourage people to come back to this state. Our younger children and our younger generation who should be business leaders here or business owners here are leaving the state, going to Texas, going to Mississippi, Alabama, the bigger states where they can start businesses, not be taxed as much. We do have the highest tax rate here. We need to cut taxes. I don't believe in raising taxes. I believe in cutting off of the different departments and their budget. Bringing businesses back to Louisiana is one of my main focuses. I will work with the business leaders here and the mayor and the parish president to work on bringing businesses back to New Iberia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I take a different approach to that. I do follow what Cammie is saying, and I echo her issues on education. That's a very, very integral part of anything. Communication as well. To communicate, you have to be fairly educated. Well, they run together. When we talk about tort and tort law, I don't know how many people in this room know what that is. It's a term when they talk about tort law, and I have an expert right here, so I wouldn't try to second guess him. But too often in this state, we talk about things that everybody doesn't understand. When you go to vote, you're not sure to vote yes or no. They squirrel it around to where you're not sure what you're voting for. So again, we go with communication. Here you get the right to vote on what? What does that mean? We don't get a lot of clarification in a lot of things that go on in Louisiana. When you sit in the legislature, the first call has happened while you're saying good morning to the guy next to you. It takes 3 calls to become law. Well, all these little fine things I know everybody doesn't know, you find out when you get involved with these things. So I think just more communication, more education, because we spend money on everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Titus. State government often balances the budget by shifting the burden to local government, while still requiring services to be provided. Do you have a better solution? If yes, please describe it. If no, please explain. Beginning with you, Mr. Dugas.
Yeah, the problem with, state government is a lot of times they'll send rules to the local governments to enact. But they're doing that without, any funding. If we're gonna send a rule that we want local government, parish, municipalities, school boards to enforce, it should come along with some funding. It's just putting more burden on local government, and local government's already stressed out. So what I want to bring to Baton Rouge is we need to work on the budget. We need to figure out the budget that we've had over the last 3 years and average it out, and base our budget on that. Quit overspending, and when we have a surplus, let's save that for a rainy day. But anytime we send new rules for local governments to follow, they should fund it. Unfunded mandates are killing local government, and that's one approach I want to bring to the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dugas. Mr. Gonsolin, same question.
What a great question, and that question comes up so often in parish government as we sit there and discuss issues that affect the parish. But, you know, without any funding for local government, it would be a devastating loss to the people and the services that we provide. And the state continues to put that burden on parish government. You know, in the 8 years that I've sat on the council, I'm proud to say we've balanced the budget every time. But you know, we had a reduction in revenue from 40 to 35% with the oil field. What business can operate with a 40 to 30% reduction in revenue and still maintain the services that we do today? Not many. What we did as government, we balanced the budget, we made the cuts, yet the state is still continuing to put these unfunded mandates on us, like the inventory tax. You hear them screaming about, let's do away with the inventory tax. Okay, I'm not for inventory tax. Let's do away with taxes. But you know what? Who's going to fund the local government? Because it's just a pass-through. It's money that comes to local government. Local government is stretched thin right now. We're not going to ask for new taxes, but we got to cut our budget on local government, and it's getting tougher and tougher to do from state mandates. State has a $31.8 billion budget, yet they're forcing mandates down to local government. Why do you think they have a budget of that big? Only because they increase sales taxes and they're making local government pay more, making you guys pay more. We have to step up to the plate and say enough's enough.
Thank you, Mr. Gonsolin.
Can you repeat that question?
State government often balances the budget by shifting the burden to local governments while still requiring services to be provided. Do you have a better solution? If yes, please describe it. If no, please explain.
I'm a little unclear on the question, but I mean, I'll try and answer it. I think what needs to happen is that the state government sets up a situation where they have a task to perform. They perform a service. And I think that the parish government should also perform that service in a similar situation that the state does. So I think sometimes that does not happen. And in the parish government, I can tell you, you know, we've got RV parks and we've got airport terminals that were built that didn't service this parish. So, you know, the purpose of the state government and the purpose of the parish government is to perform services and provide these services for the people, not to provide these services for businesses. You know, again, we've got RV parks and we've got a $1 million terminal at the airport. I have a hangar at the airport. That terminal services only a helicopter service, not the public. So I think that the parish government has a responsibility to take care of its own people. And if the state government has to dictate that it do that, well, that may be the purpose of the state government, that it does that.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Mr. Bryant?
In the legislature, it's one legislator, one vote, right? So we go to Baton Rouge and we put together laws and we try to balance a budget that works for the state, and each legislator gets to vote on it. So when you have mandates on the parish, that has been either went through committee, that has been vetted out and or debated in 2 or 3 different fashions before you come up with a conclusion that this is the only way that the government is going to have a budget that works, that fits for the state, and the parish is going to have to supplement or put in whatever they mandate for the parish. So I think working with the parish government, having a relationship with your local parish government, your local parish officials, and trying to understand what the mandates and what it does for your parish, and try to help your parish get money and get funding to come with the mandate is the fight of the Acadiana delegation to make sure that any mandates that we get, that our government and our parishes can handle them. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Ms. Matre?
The first thing I would do is work with those in Baton Rouge to cut wasteful spending. And I'll give you an example. When they were trying to balance the budget, the education department asked for money for 99 new positions. As we were told, those 99 positions will probably never be filled, so why are we asking for that money? That is wasteful spending, because then you're putting the money elsewhere when you should have budgeted for that money. To me, that's wasteful spending. Also, if the legislature mandates something for the parish, the school boards, the city, if they're promising money to go with it, they need to provide it. When teachers got pay raises 12 years ago, the state said that they would pay half of the $5,000. They did it for 1 year, and the school boards, the local school boards, have had to pick up the slack of the other $2,500 for the last 12 years. So if we're gonna mandate the local governments, parish, school board, city, we need to with those mandates do come money. And if we can't provide the funding to help them sustain, then we shouldn't mandate. We should provide as a state and as a legislature the funding it needs to continue to provide for the area, the district, the state, the parish that they're mandating it. Thank you.
Good. What I would do in the legislature is just what almost everybody here did say. Bring the law in that no mandate without the money, and make that a rule. I haven't heard that, and I'm not in the legislature every day, but I've never heard it brought up. I've heard many, many times the rhetoric brought up, why do we have to do this if they know we don't have the money? But never seen anybody bring it up. And that's the politics part of politics. If one of us is gonna go, two of us are gonna go to legislature. Now, if we hold that promise that we'll bring it in, at least bring it up. You only got one vote, as was mentioned, but at least bring it up. Without bringing it up, you can't get one vote. So that's the thing I want to see happen with the people up here. Whoever goes to Baton Rouge needs to do what they say, needs to bring it up. Whether it fails or not, come home and tell me you brought it up. Let me see it somewhere. I have faith in you after that. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Titus. Mr. Boyer?
We're not even having this discussion if we don't run all of our jobs to Texas. We don't have a budget issue whatsoever if we learn how to treat our businesses here in Louisiana. Number two, our state has learned from our federal government. The federal government pushed mandates down the state government. The state government goes in and pushes down to the local government. But don't forget, it's all about jobs. And the other part we have a broader picture on the budgeting standpoint, and these mandates that come down. We have to have some budgetary reform. We need to open the layers of our Constitution and go back and figure out what it is that is the priorities of the state of Louisiana. We have over 300 I think it's 30 constitutional and another 270 statutorial dedicated funds. These are all silos of money that have been protected. So when the state goes to balance the budget, there's no place to go except for healthcare and education. So when they run out of money, what do? They pass it down to the local level. So if we want to control things on a local level or do a better job of not receiving these mandates, we got to do a better job on the state level of creating jobs and bringing more business to the state of Louisiana. A couple of other things with regards to the budget. We need to get rid of the continuation budget. We need to have a zero-based budget. We need to have all the departments in Louisiana come to us with $0 from the beginning and start from the ground up. We need to have not a revenue estimating committee, we need to have an expense estimating committee. We just went ahead and addressed a bunch of permanent funds, and we got a lot of Medicaid expenses that we need to cover.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Mr. Gonsalves, it is reported by the Louisiana Department of Transportation that Louisiana has a $15 billion backlog of maintenance and rehabilitation of roads and bridges. What do you suggest is the best funding source to dig us out of this backlog? Please include your comments whether you support a new gasoline tax to fund this backlog.
What a great question, a question that's probably fresh on everybody's mind, not only on the state level, but the local level. But if I recite some numbers to the audience, I see one person who would know the numbers, Mr. Miguez, but if I say 14 billion, if I say 700 million, if I say 85%, if I say 4,200, y'all probably say, what is Ricky talking about? Well, this is what I'm talking about. We do have a $14 billion backlog in infrastructure in the state of Louisiana. We do spend $700 million on DOTD annually. That does not come in front of the state legislature for budget approval. Of that $700 million, 85% of it goes to inkpen pushers and bureaucrats on Baton Rouge. The rest goes to asphalt on the roads. That's why we got a $14 billion backlog, ladies and gentlemen. We got to fix that. What about 4,200? That's how many jobs DOTD has. They're the only organization since John Bell took office that has not reduced employers, has not made any cuts. 4,200 jobs. We have to fix our house. We have to clean our house first. Once we get our house in order, then we can direct more money to asphalt and try to catch up on this $14 billion. But in the meantime, you know, we got to have a local component to that 16 cents gas tax. 16 cents, yes. We got to send more money to the local municipalities. They know what's best, which roads can best benefit from an economic standpoint. And fix DOTD, and, you know, and do the things that we need to do in-house and get more of the gas tax back down to our local components to fix our roads without increasing the taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Gonsolin. Mr. Levy?
Yeah, so I would be for the gas tax. Also, these ITEP exemptions need to go. I've been in business for 23 years. I had the ITEP exemptions. Where's my free stuff now? I'm not going to get any more free stuff. So we don't need to beg these people to come in to Louisiana. That's not the way it works. I didn't leave because I was taxed too much. I'm still here. I've been here 23 years. I'll pay the taxes. I pay a tremendous amount of property tax on all the manufacturing machines in my business. I do it happily. I pay for all of the employees' health insurance too. I do that happily. What we need to do is we need to fix our roads with our property taxes. We need to get rid of the ITEP exemptions, and we need to fund our schools so that the people that are here will stay. I had an employee that left in January because he has 4 kids and he didn't want to pay to send them to Catholic High. So he moved out of state to put them in a public school. 4 kids. There you go. So we have to pay the taxes. We have to tax the businesses that are here. We don't mind paying the taxes. We can do it. We can make money. It's ridiculous to beg these people and to bribe them to come in here, take all the resources, and we get nothing. It needs to stop.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Mr. Bryant?
We have $8 billion in tax breaks that we give to large corporations that do business in Louisiana. What is the deficit? What is the road deficit? 14? So that's 8 already. We just came out of an $8 billion deficit in Louisiana under the previous administration. So you take those 8 and you put it with the other 8, that's 16. We have to address the issue of the tax breaks that we give to large corporations that come to Louisiana here and pay 0 taxes. Shell, Exxon, other large corporations are here and they pay 0 taxes. They pay nothing. So if we don't address those issues and start bringing some revenue to the table to address our streets and our highways, then we don't want to raise taxes. So what are we going to do? We're going to cut elderly benefits. We're going to cut education. We're going to cut other areas of government to fix our roads, or we're going to ask some of the corporations to pay something instead of giving $8 billion annually to large corporations. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Well, I agree with Mr. Gonsolin. We need to start with the 85% of pin pushers, because the more we put into the office, the less we're putting onto our roadways. I also agree with Mr. Bryan that our large corporations are getting tax breaks, but our small businesses are suffering because our small businesses don't get the same tax breaks. As a small business co-owner, now that my mom passed away, I've started helping my father with our business, and it's not easy to be a small business owner. But there's many roads in Louisiana. It's funny when you come into Louisiana, everybody says, you know, when you're in Louisiana because of the road system. We have too much wasteful spending in every department. We need to go in and look at exactly where their money is going and find out why we can't put it onto the roads, because there's enough money going into the Department of Transportation where some of these roads, if not the majority of them, should have been fixed, not patched. You cannot put a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches, and that's what we do here in Louisiana, and that needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marjorie. Mr. Titus?
Well, my answer to that has always been dedicated funds. That's something that's a dirty word for some reason. Why can't you put money in a fund that's used only for education and only for the roads? It's funny because when I look around, I see states like Mississippi, who've always been 51st in everything, and their roads are beautiful. They dedicate their funds from the gambling arena. Okay, that's a wonderful idea, isn't it? Well, why can't Louisiana do that? We have gambling, we've got oil, we've got all kinds of money floating around. Or how did we get such a deficit from the last governor who was in here that, I don't mind telling you, robbed us blind? Where did that money come from that he robbed us supposedly of? Well, there's plenty of money here, it just needs to be redirected. And there's too many favorite funds that it goes to instead of what it should go to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Titus.
Yeah, a couple of things here. Number one, we definitely have to right-size DOTD. Too much money is going to salary and extra benefits. We can pass all the gas tax if we want, but if they keep hiring the people they hire, it's still not going into our blacktop and into our concrete. The other thing we need to do more of in Louisiana, you see it in Texas, is using toll roads. That's another user pay way to do it, and you're not causing taxes to all the taxpayers of the states is those who use the roads. Another idea, and our Treasury Department came out with it this year. One of the thoughts is to take the unclaimed property money, create an investment bank to where local municipalities could use it as the money's generated off of it could be used for low interest financing projects. That's another great way to do it. The federal government has recently come out with an incentive. It's called the Transportation Infrastructure Finance and Innovation dollars that they came out with in the last couple of years. Texas just got $47 million for a big project. There's a lot of innovative ways that we can do, but the first thing is right sizing DOTD before you even start to think about any kind of gasoline tax.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
Yeah, like they all said, DOTD is top heavy. Way too much money in salaries, engineering. Every time they do a project, they spend tons of money on studies. They've spent on the Highway 31 bypass, they spent over $1 million. They haven't turned their first shovel of dirt. We need to put a clamp on DOTD. They build these roundabouts. They spend $3 million on a roundabout. They put cement on it so people you can go over it during construction. As soon as construction comes off, they take the concrete out and put grass. I had a meeting with DOTD on Tuesday, and we were talking about drainage and cutting the grass on the highways. They spend money to cut the grass on the highways twice a year. Now they're building roundabouts and they're putting grass on it that they don't have the money to cut. Somebody has to hold DOTD's feet to the fire and make them start doing things wisely. Do we want to raise taxes? No. But why don't we take out of that 16 cents a gallon, why don't we take 2 or 3 cents of it and we give it back to local government and tell the local government to put in roads. It'll get put in roads. That's one of my plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dugas. The current Louisiana Medicaid program has grown to its largest level under the current administration. Do you support the expansion of Medicaid services that is now in effect? Why or why not? Mr. Levy?
Yes, I do support the expansion of Medicaid. We need to take care of our people. I mean, we've just neglected the poor, and people are dying. We have to do better. We got to collect some taxes. We got to create some commerce. We got to start building some renewables. We got to start getting into solar panels. We got wind power. We need to get that offshore. We can still continue to produce oil. Deep water's going to come back. We can do that. We can do this all concurrently. but we need to tax these businesses. I've been here 23 years in the oil field, and I hadn't left. They're not going to leave. We can't beg them. We need to stop bribing these people, because they come, and then as soon as the economics change, they leave. They're going to leave. It doesn't matter. They don't care. So we have to take care of our own people. If they don't want to pay the tax, let them not come and take the resource. We don't need to put up with this anymore. We need to stop letting these people take all of our resource and not contribute anything to our community, and just pay these politicians to come and tell you that they're not going to come and give you this fictitious job. I mean, there's only going to be a few deep water completions going on because we've become so efficient, we can produce so much oil. So you just got to stop buying into that lie.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Mr. Bryant?
Of course, I support the Medicaid expansion. It has given 400,000 Louisiana citizens who go to work every day, who had to decide between paying their light bill, buying school supplies, educating their kids, and they wanted their kids to get a Catholic education, or a private education, or a public education. It gave 400,000 working Louisiana citizens health insurance. It gave them access to hospitals, access to lady care, going to see specialists, going to see doctors versus going into ERs, waiting to get treatment. And it allowed them to put some money into their child's education, some money into a new car, some money into their homes and their yards. Medicaid expansion has helped Louisiana greatly, and it is a great deal for Louisiana. By proof of 400,000 people who have to have a job, who work every day, but don't make enough money to buy private health insurance, and it gave them health coverage like all the rest of us, and access to the same hospitals and the same doctors that we go to.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Ms.
I
Matra?
do agree with Medicaid extension, the Medicare extension, because number one, it gave 400,000, as Mr. Bryan said, people who work in the state Medicare, medical insurance, to be able to go see certain doctors. It gave women who were pregnant access to certain doctors to help them through their pregnancy, to be able to have a child. It helped people with cancer who wouldn't have had the treatment. That has helped too many people. It also brought the federal dollars back into the state that the state was owed. Medicaid, when Medicaid was expanded, we began receiving all the federal funds from the Medicaid expansion. Before we didn't. Through our former administration, he did not expand it, so we lost out on a lot of money. Those federal dollars helped us helped us with the budget surplus instead of a budget deficit. So yes, I do agree with Medicaid expansion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Titus.
I totally agree with the Medicaid expansion. I think it's misunderstood sometimes, just like food stamps, just like all of the other items that are considered a giveaway. I think a lot of people don't understand humanity does have to come first. Sometimes, it should be always. But people tell me on the street now, and they've told me this for years, why do we give away to these people? I said, well, Joe, you can't save the saved, right? You're saved, Joe. You want to get some food stamps because your neighbor can't afford it and has some? And that seems to be the intellect with that. And it kind of becomes a political issue, and it shouldn't. It's a common courtesy. It's humanity at stake here. And so whenever that question comes up, I'm sorry that I answer it that way because I like to keep it out of politics. But yes, I do agree with every ounce of Medicaid expansion.
Thank you, Mr. Titus. To repeat the question for the remaining panel, the current Louisiana Medicaid program has grown to its largest level under the current administration. Do you support the expansion of Medicaid services that is now in effect? Why or why not? Mr. Bull?
I've always been a firm believer that as a society, we have to do everything we can to take care of our poor and our indigent, even in the healthcare arena. I did not like the way the governor expanded Medicaid and did not have any funding to pay for it. He expanded it, and then the legislature fought about it for 4 years, raised all of our taxes. I would have preferred to come up with a better solution before he expanded Medicaid. With that said, it's here. So though everybody up on this table is not putting the toothpaste back in the tube, I would like to come up with some creative solutions on trying to stop Medicaid from growing out of control. One thing is easy. Well, I've said this all night. You want to lower the cost of Medicaid, create more jobs, and get them on private insurance. Jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what it's all about. Another thing we can think about, and we took people off of private pay insurance and put them on Medicaid. Why don't we instead have a public-private partnership with private business and with Medicaid recipients? Why don't we give, similar to the enterprise zone credit, why don't we give businesses an incentive to hire employees that are on Medicaid, put them on private pay? Okay. We can also give the employee an incentive if he's got he or she has a large deductible to pay. If those incentives cost the state $2,000 or $3,000 and it costs $6,500 per Medicaid recipient, well, we just saved $3,500 per person that has moved from Medicaid to private pay insurance. The patient's happy, the doctor's happy, the hospitals are happy, and the state's happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Mr. Dugas.
Yeah, Medicaid expansion put way too much burden on hospitals and doctors. You know, if you look around, the only hospitals are left around are publicly run hospitals or religious run hospitals. Very few private owned hospitals are left around. You know, we definitely need to take care of our young. We definitely need to take care of our elderly. You know, but we want to take care of them and help them. But it's the expansion Medicare care has just put so much burden on the hospital systems. They're seeing so many patients for small injuries that they shouldn't be at the emergency room for. They're and it's really bogged down the hospitals. You talk to anybody in the medical industry, the expansion of Medicaid has really put a burden on operating the hospitals. I think it needs to be looked at, a little reform needs to be done. And let's do the things wisely. Let's take care of everybody without spending so much of our tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dugas. Mr. Gonsolin.
I think it'd be remiss not to say what it's costing the taxpayers. I think anybody up here didn't recognize that, Medicaid is costing us $15 billion. I stated earlier, the total budget for the state of Louisiana is 31.8. That's 48% of the budget. So if you're asking me if I agree with Medicaid, not at its current level. Absolutely not. It's too much fraud and abuse in it. We do need to take care of our poor and our indigents. We do need to take care of people in Louisiana, but we need to hold them accountable. We need to make sure their qualifications meet the current system. I think if we continue to pursue the fraud issues in Medicaid, we can reduce that $15 billion down significantly. You got to remember, the federal government's, it's a pass-through now. The federal government's putting that money to the state of Louisiana for Medicaid right now. Eventually, we're going to have to foot that bill. We can't afford that currently. So we got to make sure that the qualified are qualified, and we keep the ones that really need health care healthy. The ones that are using and abusing the system need to get off, and we need to absorb that significant savings moving forward. Now, I agree that, the easiest way to fix Medicaid is through jobs. There's no other answer. We can continue to repeat it. If we put people to work in the state of Louisiana, they can afford to pay private health insurance, just like a bunch of us in here today. I pay my own private health insurance. But we got to put them to work. So it goes hand in hand as a legislature. You go in to Baton Rouge with your priorities to create jobs. As you create jobs and you create the economy to grow, you'll see people affording their own health care, and you'll see that Medicaid bill shrink down, and we can afford to use it in the right way.
Over the last several years, Iberia Parish has been awarded several $1 million in capital outlay funds. Have you identified any specific capital projects you would support? Mr. Bryant?
Currently, for my district, which runs from Bayard to the airport, it would have to support the airport. And the rest go with the port of Iberia, because they both have great projects. Our port, and then we have hemp legislation that just got passed, and dealing with the farmers and dealing with that industry and the hemp products being produced in this area. So it would have to go on hemp, because hemp produces more revenue. It produces more revenue for the parish, which gives the parish government more of a budget to do the projects that it need to govern. That you have to go. We have to go and fight for Acadiana and make sure that New Iberia is taken care of and gets the money it needs in capital outlay. And we have to support revenue building streams like our airport, which is in my district. So definitely us getting the permits we need to be able to bring and expand our airport, which just got a couple of $1 million to expand, and helping bring revenue and jobs to our parish, which ultimately helps the parish complete the projects that need to be completed throughout works. So it would probably be the airport, because the airport generates revenue, and revenue comes right back to the parish and the city and local government.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Ms. Marchand?
I agree with Mr. Bryant to a point. I think our airport does deserve capital outlay money. If we do give them capital outlay money, that will help us maybe bring commercial flights here, which would generate taxes and generate revenue here in Iberia Parish. I also think some of this capital outlay needs to go to the drainage here in Iberia Parish. There's too many areas in District 96 where when it rains, it floods. We need to take care of our citizens here in Iberia Parish, District 96. So yes, I do agree with giving some of the money to the airport and supporting him in the port, but we also need to worry about our citizens here in District 96 and worry about their houses, and when it floods, we need to do something about the drainage here also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marchand. Mr. Titus?
Well, Cammie and Marcus didn't leave me too much to say. They, no, they're, I believe that in the outlay projects, it needs to be taken on as a case by case, and I do agree, all of this district that's involved in those outlay projects should receive some help. How, to what extent, I can't say. It's too finite a situation, but yes, share it.
Thank you, Mr. Titus. Mr. Boyer?
Yeah, this is an excellent question, and the fact that he just said share kind of helps me with the lead into this. So I think that the two biggest projects, the couple of biggest things that we can do capital outlay don't exist in District 48. I think they in District 96 and in Blake Miguez's district. I think at the airport, finally getting this airport access road completed and having everything finished from that standpoint is just a major economic burden that it hasn't been done. Another item out of the airport, SLCC has an opportunity. I visited with those folks a couple of weeks ago from a major training facility for mechanics and for fixed wing pilots. These could be extremely high paying jobs that we could have high school ready people come out of high school, enter into these programs and make six-figure jobs in no time. And I think we have to concentrate our capital outlay dollars onto projects like that that can bring jobs to our area. The Port of Iberia is the other asset that, again, is not in this district, but talking about sharing. If we share in capital outlay, everybody in this room, regardless of what district you live in, can benefit by further expansion at the port. And also, I think a lot of people in here, if I didn't say something about having some sort of a municipal auditorium or something for the parish, it comes up very, very often, something regionally where we could have events and attract business to do shows. I think it'd be very nice to have for the community.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
Great, yeah. First thing we need to do is complete Progress Point and have access from Highway 90 to the airport. There's three parishes in the state that has a water port and an airport: New Orleans, Lake Charles, and New Iberia. We need to promote those ports. First thing I would do with capital outlay is sit down with local government, both parish and the city, and see what they need and work with them together. Together we can move mountains, but one voice by itself, we ain't gonna accomplish a lot. So teaming up with local and parish government, and get a game plan together to promote Iberia Parish. It's a beautiful place to live. Bo hit on our education system. You know, in Iberia Parish school system, the biggest thing we have is our career center, where we train people to go to work. So we can promote jobs, but we need those roads to get them there. And, so again, teaming up with parish and local government to get those projects sought after. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dugas.
Yes, it's a very interesting question, and I think we got to look at the process of capital outlay. And do you really think Iberia Parish and 48 got their fair share of capital outlay in the last several years? No, we have to change the process in Baton Rouge. A conservative-minded individual like myself going to Baton Rouge and speaking up for the taxpayers, I feel is going to ultimately get punished and not get his fair share of capital outlay. I think we have to go fix the process first. Once we fix the process and we can all get our fair share, I think infrastructure is key. They've all hit on Port of Iberia, the airport, all those things. We need to drive money into them to create jobs. We can't forget about I-49, which is it's a federal highway, but we got to have matching funds to attach to I-49 to make it an interstate. That will drive our economy wide open. But people ask every day why our kids are leaving this parish. They're leaving this parish because they don't have the amenities that they can bring their kids to. We all forgot about the Pepperplex. Let's try to create the Pepperplex into a facility that we can all have our kids at home, where they can entertain their kids at home. They don't have to drive to Youngsvilles and Broussards. So let's not forget about the kids in this theory. We need to bring capital outlay for the entire picture. Infrastructure, our families, our ports, our airports. But first, let's fix it in Baton Rouge, because if we continue on the path we're on and the conservative message that we bring to the table, we're not going to get our fair share.
Thank you, Mr. Gonsolin. Mr. Levy?
So if I understand the question correctly, what would we do if we had a big chunk of money? Well, I'm going to disagree with everybody up here about the airport. Been going to the airport since 2000. I got 2 hangars over there. You're not going to beg people to miraculously come to this airport and start doing business. It's never going to happen. So if I had the money, what I would do is I would put it in education and I would fix our roads. I understand that Dodson is closing. So one of the things that we could do is small schools like that should not be closed. We should have neighborhood schools so that people don't. What we've done is we're trying to privatize these schools, so we have these huge schools and everybody gets bused to them. Instead of doing that, let's put money in having smaller neighborhood schools so we don't have to go through all this. And then you start attracting people. You start attracting people that can contribute, people that want to be here. And then the businesses come. Connecting a road to Acadiana Regional is not going to do anything for you. And if you promote the port and there's no deep water activity going on, I got a building out there that I'd be glad to sell y'all, because I can't do anything with it. I got $500,000 worth of equipment in it that I can't use.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. What is an issue that has not been raised tonight, or perhaps one that has been raised but you think needs more discussion, and what are your thoughts about it? Ms. Mathurin?
One of the issues that I think needs to be raised is we need to stop looking at politics as what if you're a Democrat or Republican, and we need to look at bringing people together. When you vote, when you go to the polls on October 12th, don't look behind my name and look at a D, because I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. If you bring a bill that will help my constituents of District 96, I'm going to vote for it, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. I'm not here to determine whether or not I'm going to vote for a Democrat's bill or a Republican's bill. It doesn't matter if my constituents is Democrat, Republican, or Independent. I'm going to help you no matter what stands behind your name. We need to get rid of Democrat, Republican. We need to get rid of black and white. We need to get rid of rich and poor. We need to come together as a group. We need to come together as a city. This city is so divided. We need to stop worrying about if I'm black or I'm white, I'm male or I'm female. We need to come together as a city to stop the violence, to stop crime, to make our city beautiful, and to bring business. The only way we can do that is if we come together. So we need to take the Democrat and Republican out of politics and come together as people to do what's best for District 96 and the state of Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Titus?
I've thought about that, and I think that what Cammie hits on is exactly correct. Brought up before that it needs to be a humanity first situation. That's right. Race, color, creed, whatever, it should be one. One of my big things is when I hear about somebody saying, well, everybody uses African American. What does that mean? We're all Americans. I mean that with respect to everyone in here. There's Italian, French, Chinese, there's all kinds of /American. No, I think we missed the boat somewhere. We need not to be wanting to alienate ourselves in one name. We all came here as Americans. Everybody in here is a voter. I don't designate just as, I'm sorry to mirror all your stuff, Cammie, you're great. But it's true. We are divided on something that has nothing to do with it. We all want to live. We all want to eat. We want to raise our kids here. We need to have all the things that help humanity first. And that's in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Titus. Mr. Boyer?
Yeah, y'all have done a really good job at covering a lot of the issues. I want to share a quick story with y'all. I've been coaching baseball for about 15 years, and for the last 5 years with the same team with my youngest son. And last year about this time, we got word that our stud first baseman was moving to West Texas. We called him Big Z. This is a true story. His dad, who was really Big Z, got transferred to West Texas. And I want to kind of just share with you all the trickle-down effect of that one job being transferred to West Texas. Not only did really Big Z get the job in West Texas, but our Acadiana's education system lost one heck of a teacher who is now teaching in West Texas. There were 3 students in that family who are now being educated in West Texas school. It's about $35,000 of lost funding to Acadiana schools. They sold their house in Acadiana and they bought a house in West Texas. They now buy all of their groceries in West Texas. They buy all their clothes in West Texas. They buy all of their vehicles in West Texas. They bank in West Texas. All of their property taxes are paid in West Texas. All of their sales taxes are paid in West Texas. So when I've been up here tonight telling y'all it's all about jobs, people, it's all about jobs. So you need to be concentrated on that when you go to the polls, and you need to be concentrated on that over the next number of years. Thank you. Oh, and we lost a good first baseman too.
Thank you. Mr.
All
Dugas?
right. Yeah, we covered a lot of subjects tonight. One subject we didn't cover is, the quality of life. We want to have a quality, safe place to live. We talked about our education system. I kind of mentioned our career center, the air base, where we're training people to go to work. We need to take that on to the next level, to SLCC level, bring back the technical college level of training. The other problem we have is our correctional system. Our correctional system is a revolving door because most of our prisons are privately owned and they get paid by who's sleeping in those beds. So they want those beds full. So they don't want to reform the one. They want to just bring, hey, see you later. Come back and see us again. And that's what they're after. So we need to bring a technical training to the prison system where we teach our prisoners how to reskill themselves and be part of society when they get out. Here at our jail here in the parish, there's a shop in there. We can be teaching these inmates on a local level, but we want to bring it to on the state level where we train our inmates to become part of society when they are released, and then not a revolving door, and they don't ever go back. And we want to give them jobs when they come out. And again, it's all about jobs and who we're going to put to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dugas. Mr. Gonsalon?
Yeah, I think a couple of issues that weren't addressed tonight and are going to face these legislators who get elected at this table is the redistricting and the 2020 census. We need to pay attention the way those lines are drawn because it ultimately is gonna have effect on each and every one of us. The other thing that wasn't really addressed and maybe touched on is the Constitutional Convention. We all talk about jobs and economy and infrastructure, healthcare. It all starts in Baton Rouge, ladies and gentlemen. Our legislature's hands are tied. Do you know that the Louisiana Constitution is 10 times longer than the US Constitution? And we rank 49th in the nation. Is there a reason for that? The US Constitution was amended 44 times in 218 years. Louisiana's Constitution was amended 189 times. So what's the problem? We have a problem with our Constitution. Our legislators can't govern. We have to go down, sit down, have that discussion, have a limited constitutional convention, and more importantly, the committee that's gonna make the decision has to be minus any elected official. It has to be real people, business people like you guys, making the decisions of how they want the Constitution written and how you want your lawmakers to govern it. That's important. Get the Constitution fixed, let the legislature move this state forward, then you'll see the growth.
Thank you, Mr. Gonsalves. Mr. Levy?
I'd like to leave you with one thought. I'd like you to think about what is the purpose of government. The purpose of government is not to provide you a job. The purpose of government is to provide you with goods and services that you can't provide on your own. A military, police force, healthcare, because it's gotten so expensive, education. It's not to provide you a job. You don't elect representatives, and if you do elect them and their job is to get you a job, what they're gonna do and what they've done is they've privatized everything and they split it up amongst themselves. So you're being used. The purpose of your government is to collect taxes from commerce and to use it appropriately to educate, to make your community safe, and to provide services for you, not to provide you a job. If you have a safe community, you'll have plenty of jobs. You'll have more jobs than you can stand. I mean, that's been proven time and again. So let's just think about what is the purpose of government.
Thank you. The closing remarks will begin in reverse order of the opening. Mr. Levy?
I want to thank you for allowing me to come here, and I want to thank all the people that are up here too and trying to do their best to help their community. And I hope that I've given you a couple of ideas to think about. I hope you vote for me, but if you don't, that's okay. Let's all think about what is the purpose of our government, and I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonsalves?
First, I get just a big shout out and thanks to our current representative for 48, Mr. Taylor Barra, the speaker. What a conservative speaker, some huge shoes to fill. And I don't think anyone else up there can deny that accusation. But listen, we need to fine tune our budget to fit our needs, not our wants. You guys all deserve a first-rate education. You deserve better roads. You deserve better infrastructure. You deserve a government that spends your taxes well. You deserve reduced crime rates. You deserve all those things, and you demand us to get it done. I'm here to tell you that I'm a conservative leader. I have a proven track record on the council. I'm gonna bring that conservative message to Louisiana with hard work, and I'm not afraid to dirty my hands. Support Ricky Gonsalves, number 77, District 48. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dugas?
All right. I want everybody to pull their phones out while I talk. But, it's going to be simple. I want to go to Baton Rouge with a KISS attitude, keep it simple, keep it common sense, and I want to be available to all of the voters. I want to represent the people. So you people took your phones out, put my number in there. It's 201-1232. You can call me. And when you're going to call me, I'm going to talk to you. And I'm going to listen to your problems. And that's what we all want. We want somebody to listen to us. Will I fix all your problems? No. But we're going to try. And we're going to work. Because it's everything I've ever made success in life is hard work and getting after it. So y'all call me, let me be your representative. Thank you.
Mr. Boyer?
I'm not sure why I thought a bit about this right now, but I'm thinking back to my middle school math teacher, Miss Jeanette Detline. And she would always tell me, Mr. Boyer, it's better for you to keep your mouth closed than to open, and people think you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. So it just happened to pop into my mind just now. You know, if you forget anything that any of us said here tonight, there's one thing I want you to remember, and it is all about jobs. You know, our government is not there to provide us the jobs. I agree. But our government is not there to chase our jobs out of state lines. They need to have the infrastructure in place to where we can create new jobs on our own. I'm up here humbly asking for your prayers and humbly asking for your vote. We want you all on our team, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the campaign trail. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Mr. Titus?
Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you all for being here tonight and giving us all this opportunity to speak to you on some very important issues. And I heard some great answers. I hope y'all did. But to close this off, my name is Robert H. Titus. They call me Bob. And I'm asking for your vote for the House District 96. It's all about the people. It's all about humanity first. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Mathurin?
I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank the whole panel for being here. But I want to say that my experience in fighting for others proves that I'm here to fight for you. My mom always taught me to fight for what's right, or make what's wrong right. And I've been doing that for a long time. I've been fighting for the kids. I've been fighting for educators. I've been fighting for what's right or wrong in our criminal justice system. I've been in the legislature. I want to move District 96 in a positive direction. I plan to do that, but I also plan, if you want your voice in Baton Rouge, vote number 85, Cammie Matra, on October 12th, because your voice will go to Baton Rouge and your concerns and what I can do to help you. My phone, as Mr. Dugas said, my phone even now is always ringing. So please, if you ever need something, give me a call. My name is Cammie Matra, number 85 on the ballot. Thank you.
This concludes the forum for State Representative Districts 48 and 96. We certainly appreciate the time and the effort put forth by the candidates here tonight. How about a round of applause for our candidates?